it's hopeless when you think that you lost. Oh, I will take your hand and we'll rise up from the dust. Oh, here we go, 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 let us heal and grow. You won't be alone, we're unstoppable. Don't be afraid to show what we're going for. This is what we know. Here we come back to life, we're still breathing. Standing up, everybody's gonna see it. Oh, all you need to know is that we're holding on.
Hey everybody, I am here with Kara Hayes.
Everyone, good morning.
Good morning, and Mike Beanie.
Hi, everybody.
We are the Difficult Emotions group, and we just kind of wanted to take a minute to introduce ourselves and kind of tell you, what it is that we're all about, and try to be as clear as possible about what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Mike, do you want to start us out?
Sure. Wow, where do I begin here? First of all, let me tell you how I met the both of you, because that I think is important for the people watching to understand, and maybe for you two to understand what you might not know. In 2017, I had a breakdown, and it was probably one of the most difficult ones that I ever had in my life. And for me, emotions have always been like the enemy. I struggle with a thing called emotional dysregulation, where it's like, I say, somebody can pinch you, and you feel like a pinch. Why did you pinch me? But when you have emotional regulation challenges, somebody pinches you, and it feels like your body's burning for days. And I struggle with just emotional dysregulation, and I hold on to things. I've held on to resentments for years, and it's just made it so difficult for me. So I ended up at this retreat in Massachusetts in the woods with this guy named John Terrell. And I thought it was kind of weird at first, like, well, what am I getting myself into? And I thought he was a little out there, and everything, but I did it. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt forgiveness. And it worked so well. People saw such a difference in me. I said, I'm going to call him again, and did it again, and felt even better. And he and I developed a nice relationship. And I actually said to him, one day we were sitting in his living room. I said, John, you need to leave a legacy here for the work you're doing with difficult emotions. And he said, yeah, I'll talk to you about that at some point. Well, long story short, he decided to create this training, a secret training for people doing work around difficult emotions. And I arrived at it, and I met the two of you. That's how we met. And that's why we're doing this little difficult emotions group together.
What is it that you think that we're like offering people, Mike? What do you think it is that we're really offering people here?
That's a great question. I think, and this is just something that I have written somewhere in like a journal, but everyone experiences emotional pain. That's life. Things happen, but no one needs to suffer. And there are way too many people suffering out there. And I'm hoping that with this group, we all have different backgrounds. We all have different perspectives, different worldviews, that we're coming together, sharing that, and being able to give people some practical tools that they can use to process difficult emotions. Because when you don't deal with them, they cause lots of trouble. Let me tell you, I can tell you lots of stories about that. Cause lots of trouble. And I'm hoping that our work can resonate with people and just give them hope and relieve suffering.
I love that, Mike. Yeah, I would agree with you. And, I thought about the question, like, really, who am I? Because I want to tell people, like, who are we? And I kept like thinking of different like characteristics. And then I was like, no, that's ridiculous. Like we're so much more than just like a list of characteristics, right? Like we're so much more complicated than that. And so I was trying to think of like an honest answer. And I think the best thing that I could come up with was that I'm just like someone with a growth mindset, and I hope that 10 years from today that I can say that I'm much wiser and that I'm living just more fully in the present moments of my life than I am today.
Mm.
So I feel like, we sort of have to just embrace like our difficult emotions instead of like running from them. because if you let them in, I think we can learn to process them and let them go a little faster. Like you were saying, like you can have pain, but you don't have to suffer so much. You can just feel the pain. We can give you tools to obviously help you process it a little bit. And then you can actually just let it go instead of it being this like stuck energy inside of you. And I think that that's kind of how I lived. I've always sort of had like these really big emotions and, and I didn't know it, but I really essentially think that it was stuck energy. It was me running from pain and not wanting to deal with it at all. Like, and I think that that's like people in general, that's what we do. We just avoid pain, and we spend so much time avoiding pain that we just prolong it, and so, there's such a freeing feeling of and just like liberation that comes from just like really speaking our truth. And I sort of think that that's what we're here to do, is just speak our truth thing and let other people know that, hey, it's okay to do the same. It's okay to take your mask off and just be who you are. And so I'll just tell you real quick a little bit about my truth. So I was basically in a failing marriage, and I was living with a pretty unhealthy amount of shame. And I felt really stuck. And that's when I went to my first retreat, where I met John Terrell. I only actually went to one retreat before I got the email that said, hey, let's do this, let's do this training. And I was like, yes, I'm in. Like, I just fell in love with it because I was actually able to like get in touch with, my emotions, and to realize that other people had big emotions was amazing. And I sort of grew up in a home where I kind of thought I was the only one. Like, I was like, which is so not true, but so many people just, they wear their masks so well that they make it look like they don't have any problems, right? And that's like unrealistic. Everybody has problems, some of us just don't deal with them. So I think what we're offering people is really just a place to be able to remove their mask and give them sort of a judgment-free zone to express themselves. We all like to be happy, but sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're mad, and we need to be able to acknowledge those emotions and give them life so that we can move on to the next moment of joy. And so I think that that's really what we're here to do is help people to find more moments of joy and process their difficult emotions too. So I just want our audience to live more alive, and that's I guess that's what we're here to do.
Kara.
Hey team.
Hi, Kara.
Hey, Kara.
It's so amazing. I'm sitting here and I'm feeling just in this moment, I know you both better, and thank you for sharing your story. It's sort of, it's interesting to not have this backstory, even though I feel like I know you so well. For me, I had met John it was a session on body work and light work. So he was doing a small, like 2-hour session with me. First time I ever met him. And I had a really profound experience sort of in the moment. It was such a loving, holding, present experience. And I thought, wow, this is something different that I haven't felt. And I'm curious about more of this. And I went to another session with him, and then he mentioned his retreat. And I thought, I don't need that. I don't have any, I'm not stuck. And so I think that's kind of something that's interesting. As I went to the retreat, I was there. I spent all the time with the 11, 12 other people that were there, and I watched them process their difficult emotions. And I think when it was my turn to go through it, I really, I was surprised by my lack of awareness of what I was holding on to. And it was incredibly profound to just sort of open up to the parts of myself that were really suppressed. And I think a big part of that was, what I'd really experienced the first retreat I went to was fear. And I think for me, not feeling the fear kind of kept me mobile, kept me going. And it was something about noticing too, the sort of separation, the lack of integration in my own self, which is, it was ultimately really freeing and rewarding to kind of connect to that and integrate that piece and really work with it. But it was also kind of scary to think that, wow, I've lived so many years without the awareness that these parts exist, or, or really what is suppression. So, and I think that's really natural. I think, Jen, it's similar to what you said about wearing masks, is like we're socialized to sort of be okay. We don't want to walk out and meet people at the church or the grocery store and sort of break it down. But so yeah, part of that is really socialization, and part of that is not wanting to put that on everyone else, maybe not even wanting that awareness in ourselves. So for me, that was where it started. And then I went to multiple retreats just because once I realized that was happening, I saw layers and layers of work, and I think they actually reveal themselves one at a time. So ultimately, I think the work continues, although I think I have a more embodied experience of my life. Like I'm really more present and really more available, and I'm really more self-aware, and I'm really enjoying the process a lot more than I thought I would. You're sort of looking at things can be painful, and naturally you want to avoid. So I think I'm hoping, the work that we share with you will normalize the process of sitting with your emotions and help you sort of integrate them into your being. So it's a slow process sometimes. I think the retreats really, that they can make it a more intensive experience where you can move forward quicker. But I think the work here it's a slower thing, it's particularly when you're not being held by a community to get into it deeper. But I think it'll be really exciting to help you notice, what is this emotion? Where did it come from? It's totally normal that it hurts or you're afraid, but you're not alone. This is an experience that we all have. And I just really hope that people can feel safe in our group. They can feel safe to explore what's going on for them, and then come back to us, tell us what that's like for you. Even just recently I had an experience of grief, and I noticed myself not wanting to go there. Like I didn't want to feel the loss that I was feeling. I didn't even want to feel that, which is so funny because I've been doing this work for years. And I knew the way through was to go in, to sit with it, to experience it. And I did that, and I trusted it all over again. So I think just to be aware that we're all still working the process. And we want you to see us in that experience too. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm. So they get to see us. Yes, if you're out there, you're going to get to see us working through our stuff, talking about a lot here on video. It's going to get really, really honest. But the both of you said something that just made me think of, I'm sorry, my brain always goes to like superheroes and DC Comics. But there's something that has keeps coming up for me is X-Men. And if you're familiar with the X-Men, they are basically these mutants, people that are unique with some unique gifts, and they go to this place, this special school with this guy called Professor X. And when they get there, their powers are out of control. Like they don't know what to do with their powers. They're just all over the place. But through going to the school, they learn to use them for the greater good. And you talked about integrating them. Kara and Jen, you brought up energy, and I actually have learned to start to see my difficult emotions as good energy that can be used for the greater good. Anger is that's like the no emotion, right? People don't want to ever talk about that. Prior to doing this work, I could have just told you like I'm stuck in anger. This is a bad thing. This is horrible. Anger has become one of my favorite emotions now. Love anger. I think it's one of the most positive emotions actually you can have when you learn how to process it and work with it versus just, letting out your anger. And I don't mean that I think it's positive to act out, but experience it. So I don't know. That's just something I think of that, like in a weird way, we're helping people become superheroes.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I love positive affirmations as much as the next person, but we're real people with real issues. So I think like You know, that there's just more to life than that, and it's good to be happy and positive, but sometimes we're just not, and that needs to be okay too, right? So, but I wanted to add something, you guys. So I'm kind of thinking about our audience and asking the question, like, who are our videos for? And one thing that came up for me the other day was I was talking to a friend and they were saying, man, I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and they're telling me some of their stories, and my jaw was just like, oh my gosh, like I obviously, like, I have not had it as bad as this person. Like, it was insane, like some of the stories that people have. And I just want people to know that you're never too broken. You know, you're never too broken, and you don't have to be at that end of the spectrum either. You know, I had a childhood that wasn't all that awful, but I still have a lot of hangups that could destroy my relationships if I am not aware of them. So these videos are for everybody, and on both ends of that spectrum. And so I just want to make that known.
I was just thinking that, yeah, they're for everybody and everybody who's ready to address it, because there's just going to be some people who, you know, I know if you would have shown this video to me years ago, I would have been like, okay, yeah, you all do your thing. That's fine. You know, I don't think I would have been able to understand that I needed it or even taken it seriously. So I want to say out there to people who are watching this, you know, you might not feel that this is for you right away. That's okay too. But when you're really ready to, maybe you've had enough and you've gotten to that point where you just really need to do something, that's what we're here for. And we're here to support you in that.
Mike, I love that. And I think that's so essential right there. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with it too. Sort of, maybe it is for everyone. Maybe you're not ready, you know, not maybe. And also I want to add on that and say, maybe you can lean into the work, but also maybe you're someone who needs outside support. So just to add in, like, if you're someone who has a sort of deep depression, someone who maybe can get lost a little bit more in those emotions, and if you know that you're someone who needs the extra support, definitely continue your work with a therapist. Like, this can be a good point of reference of, like, checking in with other people, exploring your emotions, and then bringing that work to your other support person. So just to kind of point out that everyone has access to these parts of themselves, and this work should be accessible to everyone, but maybe you need some extra support. So that's also very normal. Really important. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to add just a quick disclaimer to people watching. We are not therapists, at least at this point in our lives. And if you do need professional help, we encourage you to call 911, get a therapist. If you're feeling suicidal or like you're going to harm someone, please get help. There are many hotlines that are out there, and we just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Mike. And also, I just want to point out that if you do, you know, just have a question and you're struggling with something and you do want to talk to us, we can be reached at difficultemotions@gmail.com. And we would love to respond to you. Otherwise, you can post in the comments. We really want to have an interactive relationship with our audience. So just know that that's there.
Wait a minute. You found difficultemotions@gmail.com. That was available.
Yes.
See, it's hard to get like a Gmail account these days with like the prefix that you want.
I know.
That just goes to show you how much this is not being talked about, that it was available for Gmail.
That's so true.
No, it's so interesting. I notice a lot of, I think something I wanted to point out that's just on my mind is like Jen, like you said, we're all into sort of, I don't know exactly how you phrased it earlier, but this light and love thing, and that's great and everything, but we all have real emotions. And I think it's important to recognize that even in this sort of community where people are doing self-work, there certainly is a big sort of blind spot. There's a lot missing in just sort of the concept of elevating to that place. Like, not everyone is just in that place. We can't just turn on the, hey, I'm feeling great today. And so I think this work is just this work highlights that. It'll kind of bring up like how many people are missing the point in the self-work community. And I think the reason that you can't just go there is that you have to get through the difficult emotions and the stored stories and all the parts of yourselves that want to be seen. So I just want to kind of highlight that this is not, this is not just jump forward to a positive living situation. This is going inward. This is like deep work. This is connecting to all the parts of yourself. And I also want to add that in the end, it feels really, really great. And sometimes through the process, it does really hurt, and it allows you to confront things that maybe you really don't want to know about yourself. But if you can sit even longer with those parts and recognize where they come from, really hold them. I notice in myself, I'm like, oh wait, maybe I don't maybe I don't want to know that. Like, but yeah, no, like just give it a second, give it a little time, really sit with it, feel, the shame, feel the discomfort, really just get used to discomfort. And then you'll notice like harmony comes from harmonizing with these like uncomfortable discomfort, really harmonizing with that is healthy. So yeah, just to say, it's not necessarily an easy process, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And Kara actually published a PDF that kind of walks you through how to sort of sit with some of your difficult emotions. And I think that's kind of a great place to start. So I wanted to mention that in our intro video here, because if you have no clue like what we're talking about, just, sort of sitting with yourself and identifying, what am I feeling is a really good place to start with opening up some of this work. So we will make sure that that's linked below, but I just wanted to share that.
No, it's a great little PDF to start with, and I think what I like about it, and thank you for creating that, Kara. It gives some simple instructions for the complex, because one thing I remind people about emotions is they're very complex, they're very confusing. It's not something you can put in a box right away, and that's one of the reasons why people struggle to do this work. It's like you can get a pain in your ankle, and it's like, okay, I got a pain in my ankle, let me get an x-ray or whatever, or put a bandage on it. Emotions don't work that way. We weave in and out of different emotions, and they're complex. And Kara, I do the exact same move as you. This one right here, it's like, I don't know if I want to deal with this right now. Go away. And something I do want to add to this, and Kara, what you just said, I love what you just said. I think there's this world of self-development that's great, that's affirmation based. Think positive, be the light. That's important stuff. We all believe in that stuff in our own ways, and we're not saying don't follow that stuff, but we seem to have this view of like there's that world, and then there's like the real world, and I think we're kind of in a way that bridge in between to show you that no, you can actually be in that world, which we can call the upper world. I've learned that somewhere, right? And also bring the underworld into your life to be integrated, and they can both work together. And you start to realize that the things that were quote unquote negative were actually helpful things, But as Kara said, I just want to reiterate, it takes a while to get there. I'm literally talking to myself. 2017, I just wanted the pain to go away. Just give me something to get rid of it. And even nowadays, I feel that way. Last night, I was feeling that way. But it's a process that's like step by step, baby steps. And sometimes you don't even notice it right away. But I can promise you that it's some great work when you do it. And like Kara and Jen, I'm doing much better right now because of it.
That's awesome.
It's incredible, Mike. I also want to say, I think a really good way to describe this work is it's sort of the process of getting to know yourself. It really is just getting to know yourself on a really deep level. Where did you come from? What do you like? What stories are you living through? Just sort of like, who are you? Where did you develop that sense of self? It's such a beautiful process of inward journeying. And I think that's something that I think will help people conceptualize. Like, I think originally I'm like, I know myself, I love myself, I got this. And then you realize, maybe we should have been taught this all along, to kind of learn how to journey inward. And I think, so that might be something that'll help people understand a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also going to help you to understand other people too. Once we learn things about ourselves, it's like we see ourselves in other people, and we can see, you know, maybe where they're struggling. And I'll give you a quick example. My stepdaughter was here recently and she's going through a lot of stuff at 16 years old. And I was just able to see through a lot of the tough exterior. And I think that I wouldn't have been able to recognize that. I would have internalized a lot of things, you know, but because I've done this work and I know myself better, I was able to form a closer relationship with her and let her know, you know, just kind of hold her and let her know that she's loved. And that happens across the board with relationships. You know, when you know yourself well, when you're able to process your own emotions, you can help other people process theirs too, in a way. And it's incredible. So this work is so important and so useful in so many ways that we couldn't possibly encompass it all like in like in one statement. You know, it's just going to help you all around. So, but Mike, did you want to add anything else, or Kara, did you guys want to close out here so that?
I think you said something just great right there, that we're throwing a lot of guarantees and promises out there, people. If you sign up with us, you get a lot here. But we are coming from a real place with this, that, you know, not only will you find a better life in terms of just how you feel, but you're going to be able to better connect with others. You know, it's this win-win all around. So we promise you that by following the work we're doing and engaging with us, you're going to get something out of it for you, and you're going to be able to help a lot of people too. And so we're really excited for this work.
Yeah, thank you both. I think something I'm discovering even more recently too is I think this work just brings us closer to our own loving, like true loving nature. Sort of, I'm discovering just sort of underneath all of these layers of experiences and just socialization, conditioning, underneath all of that, the more work I do, the layers start to kind of come up. And underneath all of that, there's all this sort of realization that we are just loving, true loving people, and that we really, really look for, we want to be loved and we want to offer that love. And this is sort of the way to, like you said, connect to others, give that love to others, and just feel the connection that two people can, or groups of people, the people that you love in your lives, can just feel that connection in a more open, less painful way. It does help to disintegrate all these layers of conditioning, and I think that's what we're promising over time.
Over time.
Connecting to your truest self and your truest loving nature, which I think it's so rewarding. Like my cup is full often. Yeah. So
I think one question that people might ask themselves is, you know, is this like a religious thing? Is this, do you guys agree that? And I want to say that one thing I love about this group is that we're all different religions. I'm a Christian, and I don't know if you guys want to say your religions, but but I just want to say that it's important to know that, I think, for some people. You know, when we talk about spirituality and things like that, some people, I think, are scared by those words or connections. But I really, for me, I think that, like, this is the work that, for me, this is the work that God intended when he said, you know, that he wants us, you know, to love each other. This is what this is. So for me, but do you guys want to add? Yeah.
I think that's great that you brought that up. Actually, that's a good one to bring up to people, because, you know, some of this stuff might, without even us saying, you know, any kind of religious terminology, might go into some uncomfortable territory for people. And I think it's very important to know, like, I am spiritual. I don't do religion. You know, they call me woo-woo. That's what they call me. I read that on Google because I like crystals and meditation and stuff. But the thing is, even if you're an atheist, this is for you. There's nothing we're trying to, you know, preach at anyone or nothing like that. This is all about being a human. And I think, you know, Kara really said it best. It's about the human connection, and that's for everyone. So thank you for reminding us of that, Jen.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories and telling us more, you know, about you and the group. I think that we disclosed some pretty good information. So if the audience, if you guys have any questions, you can reach us at difficultemotions@gmail.com. Otherwise, I will close out here.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.